1, 2. Is this on?
The live nature of wrestling sometimes requires wrestlers to deviate from the original plan. This usually happens because of an injury, a botch, or due to something unexpected happening. We'll look at examples of all three today, as we list 10 wrestlers who improvised following unexpected moments. First, we'll look at how a referee saved the day after a bad injury. This occurred during the second night of WrestleMania 39, where The Miz took on a surprise opponent who was revealed by Snoop Dogg to be a returning Shane McMahon. Almost immediately, Shane landed badly after a leapfrog.
Oh, Shane still got it! Well,
Shane O'Mac had torn his quad and was in no shape to continue, leading to the referee Jessica Carr calling Snoop Dogg into the ring. From there, Snoop was told by a cameraman to punch out Miz.
God damn it, Shane! God damn it!
With the ref then telling Snoop to hit the people's elbow. Snoop hit the move to a great reaction before going for the pin to win the match. While the people's elbow he hit may have been questionable, Snoop Dogg did a great job stepping in and entertaining the crowd. And credit to the referee for showing fantastic improvisation that ultimately saved the segment. Next, we'll look at a case where someone that wasn't in the match improvised after an injury to one of their friends. The match in question saw Chris Benoit and Eddie Guerrero team with the NWO to take on RVD, Booker T, Goldust, Bubba, and Spike Dudley in a 10-man tag match. At one point, Kevin Nash ran across the ring only to collapse to the mat, tearing his quad as a result. This was ironic given what he said earlier in the night.
I've been medically cleared, and what I really want is a little physical contact.
The rest of the competitors began brawling in the ring while Earl Hebner threw up the X sign. Bubba Ray stood around Nash to make sure no one went near him, since Kev was badly hurt.
It felt like a shotgun. It's so Bubba comes over, he's like, stay where you're at, and then he just kind of lays down to make sure. And they just make sure there's nobody hits me.
Shawn Michaels, who'd been on the outside for all of the match, got in the ring and began directing traffic, telling Big Show to distract the referee while HBK hit Booker with a super kick. Show then made the cover before Michaels reminded him to hit the chokeslam to finish the match, giving the NWO the victory. The wrestlers responded well following the injury. They didn't miss a beat as they moved to a later spot in the match straight away. Meanwhile, there was great initiative shown from Bubba Dudley, who protected Nash in the corner, while Shawn Michaels improvised by hitting Booker with the super kick and telling Show to end things with the chokeslam. Bubba Ray Dudley showed more good improvisation in our next example by making the most of a botch caused by someone outside the ring. This went down on the Raw after WrestleMania 32 in a bout that saw the Dudley Boys wrestle the Usos in a tables match. The Dudleys were heels at the time, so instead of the get the tables spot, they told the crowd to screw themselves. The finish came when the Usos each missed their signature splash, sending them both through the tables below. However, the timekeeper rang the bell too early, leading people to believe the match was over. But a tables match can only end when someone has put their opponent through a table with an offensive maneuver, which is exactly what Devon did to Jimmy Uso to officially win the match. Bubba Ray saw the botch as the perfect opportunity to heal it up, as he hilariously berated the timekeeper for ringing the bell too early. Bubba used the botch to his advantage, ensuring things turned out even better than they would have had the bell ringer not jumped the gun. It's extremely rare for wrestlers to not know the finish to their match by the time the bell rings. However, this problem arose at the Taboo Tuesday 2004 pay-per-view, where Chris Jericho was set to defend his Intercontinental title against an opponent voted on by the fans who had 15 wrestlers to choose from. This was the first WWE fan interactive pay-per-view of its kind, so not all the potential scenarios were accounted for. This included Shelton Benjamin being chosen as Jericho's opponent, as the WWE believed Batista was going to win the vote. After winning the poll, Shelton immediately came out. Neither he nor Jericho were given any instruction until they were both in the ring. This meant everything they did was improvised, including the finish, where Benjamin won following a T-bone suplex. As revealed in his second book, Jericho didn't even know what Shelton's finisher was, so he just jumped into the air and let Benjamin do the rest.
Going into that match, I knew nothing. Had that match on the fly. Didn't know I was winning until Jericho didn't kick out.
T-bone suplex, and oh my God, Benjamin has won the Intercontinental title!
Benjamin winning proved to be the right decision, as it showed the fans that their vote counted and could even lead to a new champion being crowned. The voting remained legit for all future fan interactive events. However, the WWE implemented ways to better control the outcome, such as by giving people fewer options to choose from and by planning out matches based on each possible scenario. Our next example was supposed to be a routine squash match, as Lex Luger fought 6'10", 400-pound wrestler named Roadblock on an episode of WCW Nitro from late 1996. Lex was to finish the match with his torture torture rack submission, but he failed to get his opponent up for the move. Luger had gotten big wrestlers up for the torture rack before, but Roadblock presented a unique challenge since he was both tall and wide. Luger signaled for a second torture rack, but he once again failed to execute the move. Feeding off the energy of the crowd, Lex attempted the rack for the third time, finally proving successful. Luger submitted Roadblock to get the win as the fans went wild.
He's got him! He's got him! He got him! I can't believe it!
Luger would later state that this was the hardest torture rack he ever had to pull off. Lex could have easily given up and tried something else, but he was able to use the audience to his advantage. It was great to see the fans' reaction build and build after each attempt, leading to an awesome moment once Lex eventually performed the maneuver. This next match also features a botch finisher, only with a far worse improvised outcome, as Mickie James defended the Divas title against Gail Kim on the August 2009 Raw. The match's time was cut before they went out.
So by the time we were supposed to go out there, they cut it to like 3 minutes.
Meaning the two girls had to quickly rush through all their spots. Things began to fall apart after Gail Kim landed hard on her face when she missed the crossbody. Mickie then went to hit her finisher, which ended up being botched due to Gail Kim still being out of it. Add to that the fact that both women were tired following the fast-paced match. James then went to hit the mid kick but failed to make contact, instead opting to throw a forearm. A visibly upset Mickie waited a bit before going for the cover, making for an awkward final few moments. Then after winning the match, Mickie barely celebrated the victory. Her face said it all. There was no hiding her frustration over the botched ending. James was reportedly chewed out backstage following the match. The higher-ups weren't pleased with how she handled the botch. They didn't like the improvised forearm finish or the way Mickie reacted on camera. As we've seen already, an injury has the potential to derail a match. That's why it's usually best to end the bout straight away rather than risking further damage. Eugene learned this the hard way when he and William Regal defended the World Tag Team titles against Christian and Tyson Tomko at New Year's Revolution 2005. Following a hot tag, Eugene stopped the top rope attack from Christian, but in doing so, Eugene appeared to partially tear his patella tendon. He then fully tore his patella after attempting a drop kick. Eugene tried to keep going but was unable to stand.
Tried to throw a drop kick and it was just like, I don't know if I partially tore it and then completely tore it, but regardless, it just blew out and I couldn't walk, I couldn't stand.
Resulting in Christian telling his partner Tomko to work on Regal, giving Eugene the opportunity to perform a roll-up from behind to get the win. Eugene was out of action for 6 months as a result of the injury. Hardcore Holly is no stranger to wrestling following an injury, and one of the most famous examples of this occurred during a match on SmackDown in June of 2000 against Kurt Angle. Holly suggested Kurt hit a moonsault since Angle would usually go for it and miss, but Kurt had never successfully hit the move on anyone before, so he was unsure if he could do it. Holly insisted, but once it came time to perform the maneuver, Holly was too far out to make contact. Angle failed to get enough distance as his legs came down on Hardcore's right arm, breaking it in the process. Kurt tried to immediately end the match, first by going for the cover only for Holly to kick out, and then by going for the Olympic slam. However, Hardcore would counter. Despite his arm nearly hanging off, Holly continued to call spots.
So I was talking to Bob, and he wanted to lead the match because he had a broken arm and he was limited.
The two men eventually improvised the finish where Angle gave Bob a low blow, followed by an Olympic slam for the 3. So far, we've looked at how the likes of injuries and botches have required improvisation, but now we'll look at what happens when the ring malfunctions. This happened at No Mercy 2002, during Chris Jericho and Christian's World Tag Title defense versus Booker T and Goldust. During the match, Jericho went to springboard off the ropes, however the middle turnbuckle snapped clean off. The wrestlers continued as normal, with Jericho hitting Goldust with a bulldog onto the title belt. However, given the situation with the broken second rope, Chris was unable to perform the Lionsault, which was the intended finish of the match. Y2J instead scaled the broken ropes to do a moonsault, which gave him and Christian the win. Jericho has to be commended for how well he handled what could have been a match-killing botch, as he still gave us a cool finish despite the tough circumstances. Lastly, we'll look at how improvising when they weren't supposed to can get a wrestler in trouble. This happened during the height of WWE's scripted promo era, where Triple H and Stephanie McMahon would cut long promos, enforce their authority, and sometimes even scold wrestlers. The same formula was set to be repeated on the September 30th episode of Raw in 2013, as Hunter and Stephanie came to the ring to call out the Rhodes family, who they'd been feuding with at the time. All 3 Rhodes were insulted before Dusty got in Triple H's face, while at the same time putting his hand in front of Stephanie, who quickly swiped Rhodes' arm away. Stephanie was legitimately angry after this incident, as it was the second time Dusty had gone off script during a segment with her, as 2 weeks prior Dusty had gotten in Stephanie's face, not allowing her to talk to him like she had done to so many wrestlers before and would continue to do in the future.
You need to listen to this.
Don't interrupt
Excuse me. You need
Don't
to
interrupt
listen to me.
Following these 2 segments, Dusty was rarely given a speaking role on TV again due to his off-the-cuff promos that went against the company's policy of scripting dialogue word for word. Dusty's natural old-school approach was a breath of fresh air compared to the more formulaic style we'd been used to seeing from WWE at the time. And that brings us to the end of this video. As always, if you enjoyed the video, be sure to give it a like and subscribe to the channel. And if you enjoyed this video, be sure to check out our similar video on 10 great wrestling matches which were ruined by the finish. Hope you have a great day, and I'll see you next time.